Hello, and welcome to the information session for the demonstration call under the Greener Neighbourhoods pilot program. This session is presented by Natural Resources Canada's Office of Energy Research and Development. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that our offices are located on the unceded ancestral territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Today's session aims to provide an overview of the applicant's guide and application process for this funding opportunity. Before we get started, I would like to address a couple of housekeeping items. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask questions via the Q&A button on your Zoom control panel. Please note that project-specific questions will not be answered during this presentation. Also note that questions will be visible to everyone participating in the call. However, you may submit them anonymously via Zoom. If you experience any technical difficulties throughout the presentation, please email the program mailbox on screen. We will be monitoring it throughout the session. On the agenda today is an overview of the Greener Neighbourhoods pilot program and the demonstration project's call, an overview of the applicant's guide and the proposal form, a description of the application process. We will highlight some program expectations for projects that are selected for funding, and we will wrap up with a live Q&A. Natural Resources Canada is investing $35.5 million over 5 years for aggregated deep energy retrofits in up to 6 neighbourhoods in Canada. The Greener Neighbourhoods pilot program is divided into 2 separate calls, the previous one that closed this winter and another one that we are here to discuss today. The first, now closed call, aims to support the establishment and/or activities of market development teams, also known as MDTs. The second call, which is ongoing, aims to support demonstration projects of aggregated deep energy retrofits following the Energy Sprong model, which will be discussed in more detail. The Greener Neighbourhoods pilot program is based on an innovative deep energy retrofit model developed in the Netherlands called the Energy Sprong model. The goal of Energy Sprong is to accelerate the pace and scale of retrofits by aggregating housing to create mass demand for deep energy retrofits. MDTs underpin the Energy Sprong model by finding solutions to regional gaps and barriers and act to drive market transformation in their respective region. One of the goals of this information session is to draw your attention to some key aspects of the application documents and process. On screen, you can see a list of eligible applicants for the demonstration call. As you can see, eligibility for the call is specific and focused on housing providers. Eligible not-for-profit organizations include social or affordable housing providers, co-ops, and community groups. Provincial, territorial, regional, and municipal governments are eligible. Indigenous for-profit and not-for-profit organizations and Indigenous governments are eligible. However, please note that academic institutions are not eligible for this call. Also note that proposals may be submitted by a for-profit third party on behalf of an eligible applicant, as long as the eligible applicant is the owner of the project buildings. The proposed project must focus on demonstrating Energy Sprong style aggregated deep energy retrofits. Projects must align to the following scope elements. Projects must include a minimum of 100 homes or units of community housing in the same portfolio. This project aims to support a step up in scale from those already completed. Projects must, at a minimum, target a 50% reduction in energy use and 80% reduction in GHG emissions using a whole building approach. This means considering the building as an integrated system instead of discrete envelope, mechanical systems, and so on. So, for example, a project proposing to only add on-site PV capacity to offset enough GHG emissions to reach the 80% target would not be eligible. Projects must be cost-effective compared to traditional retrofits based on a total cost of building ownership approach, and this ties in with the next criterion. Projects must be replicable across their region. These criteria are intended to ensure that projects funded by the program have the best chance of being replicated by others. Finally, to assess solutions from a technical perspective, projects must collect pre- and post-retrofit data to assess key energy metrics. Please refer to the applicant's guide for a more detailed description of eligible project scope. On screen, you can see a list of the eligible housing archetypes for this program. Under the demonstration call, eligible archetypes include detached or semi-detached houses, townhouses, row houses, and low-rise multi-unit residential buildings up to and including 4 stories. On screen, you can see the funding available for the demonstration call and also the required project completion date. All projects must end on or before March 31st, 2028. Additionally, the program can provide a minimum contribution of $1 million up to $10 million, representing up to 50% of total eligible expenditures. Also note that the program allows stacking of government funding up to 100% of total eligible expenditures. Although all sections of the application form are important, please be sure to pay special attention to the following sections of your application form: project description, uptake and replicability, knowledge dissemination, and project team and partners. Please note that although we will go into some more detail in these specific sections, this information session is not meant to replace the applicant's guide or application form, and if you have not yet done so, please carefully read both these documents. On page 5 of the application form, you have 6,000 characters to describe your project. Be sure to highlight how the project aligns to each mandatory criteria in the applicant's guide under project scope eligibility. While you're writing your project description and completing the sections under Deep Energy Retrofit Approach, we strongly recommend that you keep in mind the content of the following sections of the applicant's guide: call objectives and project scope eligibility. Your project's alignment with the call scope, objectives, and expected outcomes will be a part of the evaluation process. On page 9 of the application form, you have 3,000 characters to describe the potential for your project to be replicated by your organization or others. To maximize the impact of our limited funds, the program aims to select projects that offer high potential for broader uptake of the results. In this section, you will be asked to articulate how the buildings you intend to retrofit represent your organization's portfolio and regional archetypes, and describe further potential impacts from project replicability. On page 9 of the application form, you will have 4,000 characters to highlight your knowledge dissemination plan. In doing so, please highlight how you will ensure project learnings are communicated to key stakeholders and receptors within your region, as well as the industry more broadly. To enable strong knowledge dissemination, we recommend considering a partnership with an organization such as a market development team, retrofit accelerator or coordinator that operate in your region or industry. On page 12 of the application form, you have 5,000 characters to describe your project team and any partner organizations. On screen, you can see a list of the necessary information we require for each of your partner organizations. There are more details about the specifics of the listed items in the application form, but we want to draw your attention to how important it is that you include all the relevant information in your application. We recommend that you complete a partner checklist of all these items for each of your partners, and then put a simple paragraph break between different partners. This will help keep things organized and ensure that all relevant information is grouped together. In addition to the application form, you are also being asked to complete and submit a statement of work and budget form. This is an Excel file that can be found in the same zip folder as the applicant's guide on the GNPP webpage. The statement of work and budget form will ask you to provide a description of your planned project approach by phase and will ask you to highlight the various contribution sources for your project, including cash and in-kind from the project team and partners. Ensure that the partnerships and contributions listed in the budget form align with your response on page 12 of the application form. The GHG template is a general-purpose GHG emissions estimating template that the program has pre-populated for this call to reflect deep energy retrofits. Applicants only need to input values or select the relevant values from tab B into boxes highlighted yellow on tabs 2 and 3. You will notice some elements have been excluded from the calculations, such as embodied carbon from building materials. You can also see that some elements, such as emissions factors of electricity or fuel, are built into the template. Please use the relevant values from tab B for your project's location. For this call, anything in the template named project refers to post-project retrofit values, and anything named baseline refers to pre-retrofit values. To summarize, this slide shows a list of the mandatory documents required for your application to the demo call: the proposal form, a PDF, the statement of work and budget template, an Excel, the GHG template, an Excel, and any supporting documentation as applicable, such as letters of support, evidence of senior management within your organization approving the commitment of funding to the project, and evidence of funding agreements relating to the proposed project. There are 3 phases to this call that applicants need to pay special attention to. The first phase is the current phase, the proposal phase. The second phase is the due diligence assessment, and the third and final phase is the contribution agreement phase, which once completed marks NRCan's official commitment of funding for the project. Please note that between the proposal phase and the due diligence phase, a technical review committee made up of various experts in the field will review all applications and establish which projects will be asked to proceed to the due diligence phase. Although this is still a ways away, we will now provide a brief description of the steps of our due diligence process. Please note that this will only be relevant for those projects that are conditionally selected for funding following the proposal phase. Firstly, being conditionally selected for funding does not constitute a commitment of funding from NRCan. That only occurs once a contribution agreement has been signed by both NRCan and the proponent after successful completion of due diligence. Now, for due diligence, NRCan's process covers 3 areas: financial, regulatory, and technical. Financial due diligence requires due diligence of your budget. This includes the applicant providing evidence that they can finance their portion of the project and have secured other sources of funding. Also, please note that your project may be selected for third-party financial audit to evaluate financial stability. This is done on a case-by-case basis. Regulatory due diligence consists of NRCan determining if the project is carried out on federal lands and whether an environmental assessment and indigenous consultation is required. This is an internal process. Finally, technical due diligence will consist of a review of the project statement of work and the performance of an internal risk assessment. This is largely an internal process, but some questions for the proponent may arise. Provided that your project successfully completes our due diligence process, the project team will generate a draft contribution agreement and schedules based on the due diligence budget and statement of work. Your organization will be sent the draft contribution agreement and schedules for your review. Finally, once the project team and proponents agree to the content of the contribution agreement and schedules, the package is ready for approvals. Approvals consist of preliminary internal approvals on our end, the proponent's, signatures, and the final signature by the Assistant Deputy Minister marking a finalized contribution agreement. Once a contribution agreement has been signed and a project has begun, the program has various reporting requirements. We've broadly divided the required reporting into three sections: quarterly and annually reports, completion reports, and post-completion reports. Quarterly annual reports may be a bit of a misnomer because reporting frequency is specified in your contribution agreement, but it will consist of financial claims, generally quarterly, and year-end reports, annually alongside the fourth quarter claim. The completion report will mark the official end of your project. This is to be submitted once all project activities, as set out in Schedule A, are complete, and a standard holdback is tied to the submission of the completion report. The post-completion report will need to be produced annually for 5 years after the anniversary of the project completion. We often receive questions about what funding model the program uses, so we want to clarify today that the program uses a reimbursement model. This means that expenditures must be incurred and paid for by the proponent in order to be reimbursed by the program. There is also a standard holdback applied to each claim, generally ranging from 5 to 15%. On screen, you can see the anticipated timelines for this call. You can also find this in the Next Steps and Timeline section of the Applicant's Guide, but the most important date on this slide is the due date for your proposals. All proposals are due at 11:59 Pacific Time on September 14th, 2023. Thank you very much for watching this presentation, and we'll move on to the live Q&A portion of the information session now.